School children got long.
Danbury Public Schools, man.
They're not off.
Hello? 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 Kill me. There we go. All right, so call me in order. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Warren, can you do roll call?
Teresa?
Present.
Rochelle?
Here.
Kate? Here. Gladys Cooper?
Yeah.
Lauren Daly here. Bridget? Here. Julie?
Here.
Ralph?
Present.
Al?
Here.
And Louisa here.
Great. So we're going to move on to public participation. So the board welcomes public participation and asks that comments be limited to 3 minutes. The public may offer objective comments of school operations and programs that concern them. The board will not permit any expression of personal complaints or defamatory comments about Board of Education personnel and students, nor against any person connected with the Danbury Public School System. So we have a couple names on here. First name is Oswaldo Chen. So it's a 3-minute time limit. I'll give you a 30-second warning before you're done to wrap up. All right.
Good evening, hello everyone. Is this working?
It's on.
Thank you, and I would like to thank all of you guys for your service. I would like you guys to understand that I appreciate it, and I understand that this job is not paid, it's volunteer. You guys don't get paid, we know that. But I also want you guys to understand that from the point of view of the parents and the public, you guys volunteer to do this job. Nobody dragged you guys to do this job. So you guys have to hear from the public as well. And although we have to be civil, but also you guys volunteer. And so if you guys don't want it to be uncomfortable or feel uncomfortable, don't run for this office. What I'm saying there is because what I'm going to say is, so I can build the stage for what I'm going to say. What happened is with our schools, is no leadership from the top and down. And that's what's happening right now. And I think as Council Brink said last time, I think we hit into a point of no return. I mean, you can blame a lot of factors why our schools are not funded. You can blame people who come from overseas, like I came 30 plus years ago. You can also blame people coming from other states. What happened in the pandemic? We got people from other states coming, moving into Danbury. And always we have people come from overseas. But what took place back then, what is taking place right now, is totally different. Our leaders back then, they stressed the problems. But right now, you guys don't want, no, I'm not gonna blame you guys because at the end of the day, I understand you guys just recommend the budget. But our city council and our mayor, for 22 years they've been defunding our public schools. And I think it's the lack of leadership because there are issues, but we kind of not talking what to do. And we just sort of kicking the can down the road. And I think we come to a point that we have to speak up. And what I'm saying this because in the past, last year, I saw some of you guys speaking, advocating for our kids. But some of you guys were not even there to speak for our kids. And then I understood that you guys are not really doing the job for our kids, but instead, carrying water for your political party.
30 seconds.
That has to stop. If you guys don't want to do the job, please don't run. But please do something for our kids. Leave the political parties aside and let's face it that our schools are not well funded. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ann Riddle.
Hello, everyone. Is this on? Can you
No.
hear me?
Yeah.
No.
No?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Much
I am a resident of Danbury, live on Washington Avenue, and I'm a former Danbury public school teacher for a long time. And I'd just like to bring up the quote I've heard many times when maybe there was a delay in passing out technology like laptops or that. Some staff members were to get them and others were not. This is just a little example that we would hear back, we don't have the money. Now, in fact, the laptops were there, but they didn't have the staff to distribute and set up the laptops. And I know that I've listened to the budget. I really appreciate the connection with the asks for a budget and the how it plays out in the classroom. And I think that was your, it was meaningful. And because that is one of the things that we have to think about. How does it play out in the classroom and what are we doing for the students? So this year I would like to change what we're doing a little bit and ask the board members who are very dedicated to education to take your advocacy to the next level and in asking the city to fully fund the budget for the health of Danbury students and the entire community. Thank you.
All right, I recognize this last name here, Ms. Rachel Chalesky. I'm gonna give her 2 minutes.
So it wouldn't be right if I didn't type my notes, so one last time, and
Is it laminated?
yes, and found. This is not how I envisioned saying my parting words, but nonetheless, it's familiar. We had different microphones back then, and we also had a banner that said, "It's all about the kids," which I think I just thought of a parting gift. Maybe I'll look into later. So for a few years, I sat on this side of the table before deciding to run as a candidate for Board of Ed. In my mission to keep sibling preference at AIS, it was probably a thorn on the side of many,
No comment.
including you, Ralph, and also our dear friend and chair at the time, Eileen Alberts. May she rest in peace, and thank her for her many years of service. I cannot accurately express how much I enjoyed serving these past 5 years on the board, even among our challenges and our disagreements, even through the politics and the scrutiny. It has been an absolute honor working alongside all of you and all those who previously sat around this table, as well as with all of our incredible teachers, administrators, and entire Danbury Public Schools staff on behalf of our kids. I am grateful for the experiences and connections made, and I am proud of our accomplishments. I think I've served on just about every board, every committee, district committee, city school, combination committee at some point, as well as secretary, vice chair, chair, which was the ultimate honor to be your spokesperson and establish new partnerships and try out new processes among new leadership of both district and city. This was a very difficult decision. However, given the responsibilities of my new role as state representative, I know that I cannot hold both positions and give adequate attention that they deserve. Ironically, to this year's new legislators, during one of our many orientations, both majority and minority leaders conveyed similar points that I'd like to leave tonight. One, to protect the integrity of the institution, this institution, through civility and respect for each other. And two, good leaders will tell you to read everything. If they tell you otherwise, it's for a reason. I look forward to continuing to advocate for our kids in this new capacity. And I look forward to resuming my place on this side of the table from time to time. Over the next few months, we'll be extremely busy, but please do not hesitate to reach out to me at any time. I think you all have my personal cell phone. Please use it. And anyone can sign up to receive my email updates by visiting repchalesky.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rachel. I just want to say that back when I was elected in 2013, Rachel and I had the running joke is that she attended as a parent more Board of Ed meetings than some of the Board of Ed members back then. So it's funny. And yes, I do remember the AIS days, and you advocated very well for them. And through the different levels of participation as a parent, you did to the ultimate on being on the Board of Education and chair. And my personal opinion, myself included, I think Rachel was one of the best chairs that the board has had. And like I said, I'll include myself in that too. But I just want to say thank you for your dedication. And I just wanted to see if any of the other board members wanted to say anything.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
this is not a good time. I'd like to make a comment about Rachel.
You could have.
Thank you, sir. Rachel Shaleski has a tenacious spirit that we have all observed. Her spirit to seek, strive, and not to yield in order to get the job done, but yet to recognize that the job is never done in order to keep us moving forward. I just wanted to say that it's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you, and we wish you all the best. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I just want to thank you for taking me under your wing and teaching me, or helping me maneuver through these waters. They're not easy waters, and you helped me figure them out, and I couldn't have learned from a better person. So thank you so much for that.
Anyone else? No? Rachel, we have a little something here for you on behalf of the board. Just
Don't cry.
Here, Ralph, we got you, Kevin?
Yes, I'm ready.
You sure?
let's ask Rachel if she wants to. Kevin, you can take one with her.
Not gonna say that.
No, I'm okay.
He's more photogenic than you are.
Yeah, he is. I agree. I agree.
Thank you.
You know, I was her assistant chair, her vice chair.
Take one with
Vice chair.
her. Get out of the picture.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, ready?
I had the greatest inspiration.
Okay, let's go for you.
That smart kid from the class.
Feel free to stay, Rachel, if you like. All right.
You got pictures of you. Take a picture.
All right, what's next? Okay, so consent calendar.
I make a motion that the Board of Education approve the items on the consent calendar Exhibits 23-15 through 23-18 as recommended.
Second.
So moved, second.
Motion by Lauren, seconded by Kate. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. What's next? Educational representatives? No. Student representatives? No. All right. Action items. So I can, Al, how about you read the first one?
Action item A, Board Member Rachel Chalesky, letter of resignation. Motion that the Board of Education accept the letter of resignation from Board Member Rachel Chalesky, effective January 26, 2023, and according with Exhibit 23-19.
Need a second?
Second.
Second by Michelle. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Or if you do B,
I make a motion that the Board of Education accept the November-December 22 financial report in accordance with 23-20.
motion by Lauren,
Second.
second by Al. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Louisa, can you do D? I mean C, sorry. C.
Policy 5118.1, homeless students. Motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 5118.1, homeless students, as recommended by the policy committee in accordance with 23-21, page 47.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lisa, seconded by Bridget. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Bridget, can you do D?
I make a motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 5144.4, physical exercise and discipline of students, as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 23-22 on page 52.
Motion by Bridget, a second.
Second.
Second by Teresa. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Michelle, can you do E?
Sure. Motion that the Board of Education accept for first reading policy 5144-2, use of expulsionary time out as recommended by the policy committee and in accordance with 23-23, page 54.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Bridget. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. Go to presentation, superintendent's report, flying through this house. 8:15 will be out.
I should put the one in.
Good evening, everyone. Some exciting news to share. I have a number of items under the superintendent's update. But first, I'd like to start with some recent news. I know our board members just recently received an email. I don't know if everyone has had an opportunity to see the email since this afternoon. But I received an email from the mayor's office early this afternoon. There will be a groundbreaking ceremony at the Carter site, the Danbury Career Academy, on Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. So we will be there with the construction hats and shovels and for some photo opportunities. And quite frankly, an exciting time for us as a school district, as the city has actually broken ground on the site already. This will kind of be the ceremonial opportunity for us to talk about next steps, and there'll be a nice press conference for Monday. Yes.
Can I take a picture for Kate? They were asking for pictures of our schools. Can I do that for Monday?
You mean take a picture of the
The
site?
ground, the breaking ground?
Sure, and there will be pictures taken as well, and I'm sure we'll have available
Well,
for us.
yeah, I just wanted to
Absolutely.
send it to Kate.
Oh,
They
that
had a
would be
thing in
great.
the paper.
Asking questions about it.
Well, no, about, they want school pictures or, it wasn't today's thing?
Like school events and school
Yeah,
happenings.
school events and happenings, they wanted pictures. So I said, you gotta show up.
That would be a great opportunity.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
No,
Go
no
ahead.
problem.
Yeah, you
No
can
problem. So the next item, and really this is a request. One, I believe it was 2 days ago, we spoke with the chair of the finance committee requesting a meeting for February 7th at 5 p.m. So I don't know if to make the rest of the committee know, the board is aware of that. But we were hoping to get one more finance committee in before our board meeting next week. And so that's why the meeting on the 7th has been requested. The board might recall every year typically we have a book submitted to the council. That book has of course been updated. We decided last year, you might recall, there's a book. Behind the book with all of the line items, we had our PowerPoint as part of our presentation that we had done. This year we've kind of made the book one big story. And so it's the PowerPoints with the line items to tell one story versus line items and then an addendum as a PowerPoint. So we feel pretty good about that kind of tweak that we made this year. And so it just visually it just looks better. So the content is not really changing, but the story is more cohesive now. So one, we want to walk the committee through that. But also we want to make sure there's an opportunity for any last minute questions that might still be outstanding. Where we just assume that the finance committee would be the most appropriate place to do that going into the board meeting next week on February 8th. So I just want to make everyone.
Or the 14th?
No. So that's my other item. I wanted to respectfully ask Ms. Russo and the board if we can change the date of the 14th, given that it's Valentine's Day, and see if we can either back that up to a board meeting or just see if we can't find another date. We don't have to necessarily do it right now, but I just wanted the board to understand why we were making the request. We realized afterwards that the meeting was actually on the 14th. We know a lot of folks, right, even at this table, might have commitments for Valentine's Day, and we don't want to be the reason why you don't get to have dinner with your significant other. So,
It would keep me out of the doghouse.
yes, understood. Yes.
Let's go.
Excuse me, through the chair to the superintendent. We're changing the finance committee meeting on the 7th.
So February 7th is an added date at 5 p.m.
It's an added date,
That's
but
an
there's a
added date.
very special meeting at City Hall at 7 o'clock.
This meeting is at 5.
Yeah, but
She's got a
is it
conflict.
gonna be Zoom, excuse me, is it gonna be Zoom or is it gonna be in person?
It is a Zoom meeting at 5 o'clock on the 7th. It's a Zoom meeting.
And we're canceling the 14th.
Rescheduling the
Yeah, for
14th
another
because we won't have an opportunity to go over the financials that night.
Excuse me, you said the one on the 7th is the Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you anticipate it being a long meeting? Because usually their meetings are about half an hour, 45 minutes for the finance.
I anticipate at least an hour. I would imagine the committee would want at least an hour for questions, but I guess it really depends on the questions that might be coming from the committees.
Okay. Thank you.
And so the next item is an update on open choice program. And so CES, which is our RESC in Trumbull, Connecticut, CES is in charge of the open choice program in Fairfield County, here in our region. We do have a couple of other districts that have open choice. And after a lot of hard work this last year, to be clear, we are not facilitating the open choice process. That is actually the RESC, which is CES. They have found a partner, and that partner is Region 9 in Reading. Region 9 has agreed to at the minimum, have 8 seats available for Danbury Public School students. That number will be in kindergarten grade to start with. And again, they have committed to at the minimum of 8 seats. I don't anticipate that will be much more than 8. I know in previous discussions, kind of in the community, I think some folks, I think inappropriately, thought that this would be a solution or possible solution to our overcrowding. Frankly, it was never going to be a solution to our overcrowding. None of our neighboring schools have the capacity unless you go to a bigger urban like Norwalk or Stanford. But it does provide choice for our families. And so I know there were also some questions about funding and transportation. So transportation, the receiving school will be responsible for transportation. There is an ECS formula that will be calculated. We still continue to receive 50% of our ECS formula. The receiving school will also receive the other 50% of that ECS formula. Last but not least, the receiving district owns all of the financial responsibilities of the student. However, in the event one of our students who are now in Region 9 in Reading, if for some reason that child is recommended to be placed in an out-of-district placement, Kelly, and likely someone also from her office, will be part of that PPT, that placement team meeting. And if it's determined that that child is going to be outplaced, we would then be responsible for the cost of the outplacement, because that would be over and beyond. But outside of that agreement, the entire responsibility of educating the child would be on the receiving district. And so this has been an initiative of the state for some time. They've worked hard to try to find partners in our region, and Region 9 has stepped up. So we have placed on our website an opportunity for families to learn more about open choice. I believe it is on the ticker that continues to switch over. There's an application there, very kind of simple, straightforward application. I believe the application ends at the end of March. I'm not positive, I do have it in my paperwork here. And so again, for our families, it's on our website. We will include it in our correspondence to families, inviting them in. But I just wanted to share that with the board, and also understand there might be some questions. So happy to answer any of theirs if I have the answer, yes.
Yeah, just so who chooses the 8 students to go?
There is a lottery, and so our families would apply. Then there is a lottery that's conducted outside of Danbury Public Schools, and then those families are informed, and they have a similar waiting list like we have for AIS.
Okay.
And is it just, so there are kindergarten students going now, so are they just there for kindergarten, or are they there?
Thank you for that question. So it's incoming kindergarten students, and the kindergarten students, the idea is they would become part of the school community, so it's important for them to start with kindergarten grades.
So they'd be a Reading student?
Correct, and they would go through kindergarten to
graduate
first. Yes,
from
that is
Reading.
correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Next year, they may have another 8 students, and they'll continue to bring in more students, assuming things go well.
Excuse me, my hearing is on, thanks, so, are we talking about just 8 students, or is a number associated with those students? Those kindergarten?
Yeah, so I was a little vague, and that's because I don't have any more clarity on this, Ms. Cooper. So the number is a minimum of 8 students.
Okay.
I do not anticipate it's going to be more than
Okay.
8 students. And I'm sharing it with you the same way Eric from CES shared it with me. He said there's a possibility they may have more than 8. It's a minimum of 8. We don't expect it's going to be really more than 8.
Somewhere around
And
there.
that's somewhere around 8 is the number I continue to give.
And I guess my final question is, since it's gonna be a lottery, it could just be one-sided of one part of the community and one-sided a part of another, the other part of the community. Am I right?
Very possible, depending on the applicants, absolutely. And so the first thing, we want to make sure the entire community is aware. And so here in Denver, we've worked hard to make sure our AIS families, our West Side families have access to the application process. And so that's why we will push out and make our families aware of the open choice application opportunity as well. So the first barrier for us is to make sure everyone has access to the pool. And then once they get to the pool, it very well could, because it's really the luck of the draw. They're not going in intentionally and saying, we're just taking this side of the community, this side of the community. It is a true lottery.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Mr. And then our next, speaking of lottery, our next update is an update on the AIS lottery. And AIS, their lottery just closed on January 23rd. We had over 1,000 applicants for the school. Sorry, I'm just looking for my page number here. So we had 1,148 applicants for the school. 1,086 were Danbury, and we had, I believe it was 62 that was outside of Danbury. And so I don't know if the board is aware, but we have seats from our neighboring schools, like those partner schools have a certain amount of seats that they can apply, we can accept into the district. And so Chris and Merle Jackson, the principal at AIS, Chris Roach, our chief of schools, AIS, in which he's responsible for, they worked hard going out to the respective communities and trying to drum up interest in to apply at AIS. We've certainly got folks in Danbury excited about AIS and got a little bit of traction for our neighborhood schools. We also have a couple of schools that are not partnered with us, and so Norwalk, we have one applicant from Norwalk, one applicant from Waterbury, one applicant from Woodbury, 3 applicants from Trumbull, 2 applicants from Stamford. And I'm mentioning those districts because those are non-partner districts, which again will invite in additional revenue to the district if they do indeed get accepted. And so the lottery was drawn on January 23rd. We will be mailing out letters next week to families, and families will have until March 1st to confirm the seats at AIS. So we are excited about that. I know our families are typically, this is an exciting time of year for us as families are applying to get into the building, and we are excited to provide those updates for them. So just to get back to, I'm sorry, was there a question about AIS? Yes.
So are there certain, so many seats for the outside district and then so many seats for our district?
Yes,
Is that right?
yes, we have to maintain a 70-30 ratio in order to maintain our magnet school funding, yes.
How many seats altogether?
For the entire
Total
school.
accepted students.
Make it up. And so our next item, I can find out, we can get the entire number for you. The next update is the 2023 legislative update. I'm going to ask Mike to provide the update. Mike, before you do, I just want to say I have worked with our lobbyist, who's also a lobbyist for the city of Danbury as well, Brian Bingham, and also worked with Erica Haynes, who works with the State Finance Project. I think everyone on the board is familiar with Erica Haynes' work. The two of them have been talking behind the scenes with me quite a bit. Appreciate both of their respective work. Together, we have put together a letter with the city of Danbury to provide testimony to provide testimony on behalf of our district in support of the bill to fully fund ECS formula. So we're excited. We are going to a press conference this Friday in support of that bill with the mayor's office in hopes that we will have a different outcome this year. And Mike, I know we have some other updates regarding the bill, but I just wanted to make the board aware of locally kind of what's happening with the mayor and our office.
Yeah, thanks. That's probably the big news. As Representative Chalesky mentioned, it's the busy time. It's still early in the session. We're very excited to see February 8th when the governor's proposed budget is released. We'll have a better sense of what funding for education is going to look like at that point. All bills have to be dropped by the 15th of February, so we'll see which ones sort of get some traction in committee. The one that's of course made the most, garnered the most attention so far has been this HB 5003, which is a reiteration of last year's bill that was going to accelerate the ECS funding. As we know, last year it didn't pass, but it seems to have some momentum coming out of the gates here early. So we're very optimistic and hopeful. As Kevin mentioned, Erica Haynes from the Connecticut State School Finance Project has been working with us, as well as Ryan and Zach from Sullivan Lashane with some of this testimony. Kevin will be up there with a group of superintendents pushing for it. And we could, if it passes, and depending on the way it's written and the way the rules are set up, we could see anywhere from $1.5 to $2.7 million in accelerated ECS funding coming to us next year. That would be on top of the Standard Alliance grant. So it would be really good news if this passed. So we're going to push hard on it.
Thank you, Mike. And last but not least, schools of distinction. And so I want to make the board aware that we were notified recently from the state of Connecticut for the 21-22 school year. We had 5 schools of distinction in that. Let me share the 5 schools. So Ellsworth Avenue School, Castown Avenue School, Morris Street School, South Street School, and AIS. So you will hear from Kara Wanza momentarily as part of the superintendent goals update on the teaching and learning that these 5 schools and only one other district in the state of Connecticut has had as 2 other districts in the state of Connecticut has had as many schools of distinction as we have had here in Danbury. So once again, we're really proud of that fact, and I think it continues to speak highly of our staff and leadership across the district. And just want to also say before we ask Kara to come up, over the last couple of months, we've had an opportunity, when I say we, I'm talking about the board and I, to talk about this idea of a report card for every school and a report card for the school district. So what Kara Wanza is going to speak to this evening is an update on the accountability report for Danbury Public Schools, i.e. our report card. She's going to provide an overview of kind of crosswalk, kind of what we know a report card to look like, and what the accountability report looks like for the state of Connecticut, and why we've had 5 schools of distinction, and just kind of speak to some of the work that's going on here in the district. So, Kara, we are ready for you. Kara Wanza, thank you.
Touch the mic and see if it's ready. Yeah, you're good.
Is this on?
It is on.
It is, okay. Hi,
Maybe close.
what's that?
Close, also.
Thanks. So thanks for having me here tonight. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kara Wanzer. I'm the Director for Data Assessment and Research for the district. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the Next Generation Accountability Index. This is also a part of the update on our Goal 1 of teaching and learning. And it gives a very holistic view of how things are going in the district and the schools. So this particular accountability system is done through the Connecticut State Department of Education. Every district in the state of Connecticut participates. Every school in our district receives an index score as well as the district. It's an important piece that we use to track strengths in our districts as well, as well as areas that we find might need improvement or more support. So it really is an idea to promote transparency across the state, but also within our own district of where we might need to make some adjustments. Each district is a part of it. And these systems kind of assist all of us in developing this transparency. And what we're really working on is developing that culture at the school level as well. It kind of takes the guesswork out of everything. We all are on the same measuring stick, every school, every district. Okay. So the Next Generation Accountability System was developed in the year 2014 and 15. So we've been tracking it for quite a bit. And so the board and veteran members have heard this presentation before, but it was interrupted for 2 school years due to the fact that some of summative testing was canceled within the pandemic. So when that was suspended, we weren't able to receive scoring around growth. So that was suspended. The accountability system report was suspended by the state of Connecticut as well. So that was for 1920 and 2021 school years. And so Kevin and I have talked a lot about this, and I can go deep into a lot of data speak, so I'm going to try to keep this a little light because there are a lot of formulas associated with it, but there will be a time for questions at the end. Basically, this is our district report card. It's a holistic way to look at all different parts of the district as well as the school, most importantly around growth of students. So we say all the time, we accept every student who comes in, we make a promise to do as well as we can for the student to help them grow and graduate within our district. So that being said, the 12 indicators that are a part of our report card are academic achievement, and that's our performance index. In each one of these indicators, if you see an H, that means it's also measured for our high needs students separately. So those of you who have heard presentations by me before, our high needs students are categorized as multilingual learners, students who receive free and reduced lunch, as well as students with disabilities. So if your demographic, if that's checked off, even just one box, you're considered a high needs student. You could be all 3 or just one of those identifications, okay? So in academic achievement, for example, we get a score for all students and we get a score for high needs students, okay? You're not in one or the other. High needs students are in both buckets. Okay. Academic growth and progress towards English proficiency, that includes high needs students as well as all students. Both 1 and 2 are our ELA and math scores in ESPA, SATs, NGSS, our Next Generation Science Standards Assessment, as well as the lost links for our multilingual learners who have not exited that status yet. Number 3 is our assessment and participation rate. So that is the district is accountable to at least assess 95% of their students. So if you don't hit that, you are dropped a category in your school designation, and there's a couple other things. You can't be considered a school of distinction, but you are rated on your participation rate as well for all students and high needs students. Chronic absenteeism for all students and high needs students. Chronic absenteeism is whether or not a student is absent for 10% or more of their enrolled days. If they are absent for 10% or more of their enrolled days, they're considered chronically absent. Preparation for post-secondary and career readiness is really around the courses our students are taking in the high school. If you take 2 AP courses, 2 in dual enrollment courses, 2 CTE courses, or 2 work experience courses, we get credit for that. So that's the percentage of students who are enrolled in those courses. Number 6 is a little different. That's our high school students and what is considered career readiness that are related to those courses that they take. So how do they score on the AP exam? How do they score on the benchmark for the SAT? And whether or not they receive 3 dual enrollment credits. So number 7 is pretty easy. It's just our graduation rate. Number 7 is our on track in 9th grade. That means how many 9th graders, what percentage earn 6 credits or more. That keeps us on track. That's an adjustment. It used to be 5. But as they've changed the amount of required credits for high school graduation, We now have to hit 6 for that, so you'll see a little change on that in the index. Our graduation rate for 4-year, within 4 years, as well as our graduation rate for 6 years, that's our high need students. Our post-secondary entrance is how many students enter within a year of graduating high school, 2nd or 4-year college institutions. Physical fitness scores, you gotta get all of them meeting standards, so there's different parts of the subtest. Everybody has to pass all parts. And then arts access, how many students are enrolled in arts classes at our high school level. So, moving on to the next one, I know many of you have this, so it doesn't look great here now on this slide far away. But as a part of our Danbury District report, if you look at your available, I think PDF that you probably received prior to the meeting, you'll see each indicator and what the score is. When you look at the white area that's up there, I'm being fancy with my pointer, this white area here is how they come up with the score, okay? So that's how we're graded, essentially. And then the blue part is what our grade was, or what our score is. All the way to the right in the column is what the state earned. So it's a comparison of where we are in the state average as well. So the first piece is for ELA, our ELA Performance Index for all students. For example, the index rate is 57.9. That's the formula of the average performance of students. The target is what the state sets. They want us to be at 75. So the points earned is that we earned 38.6 points out of 50, so we got a 77.2, okay? So it goes by how many points we earned compared to what you could have earned, and then your score is in the blue. So if we look at the ELA for high need students, we were at 71.6, relatively close to the state percentage points. Our math was at 68.8, and as well as the high need students at 63.6, which matched the state percentage of points earned. Science, we were at 72.2 with our high need students at 66.8. The next piece is really where you will see a lot of change within, if you compare pre-pandemic to our kind of post-pandemic results, and that we'll talk about a little bit on the next slide. But where we shine really is around our academic growth for all students and high need students. So our all students ELA growth was at 59.3 with high needs at 57.2, math at 61, and math high need students at 60.5. So with those being said, that's really looking at the kids who are included in the growth as well as other parts of any part of this index. You had to be enrolled with us October 1st of the reporting year. So for this, they had to be a student with us October in 2021. So that way they can really see, like, is this the results attributed to Danbury Public Schools, or did the student come later? And so for this purpose, those students are the only ones counted in this as well. For growth, you had to take the test at a point in the spring, and then again with us the following spring. So the progress towards English proficiency is how students do in literacy oral on their last links. And then our chronic absenteeism, and that has been an area that we've seen tremendous growth and are above the state average for our students who are considered multilingual learners. Chronic absenteeism truly is an area where everyone has struggled. In the state of Connecticut, we were below the state chronic absenteeism rate overall when you looked at our attendance for the previous year. The college and career readiness, and then percent passing exams. Clearly there's some work to do, right? And looking at how we're supporting some of those students. Are on track to high school graduation at 77.3, all these to our graduation rates for all students. This is now the 2021 cohort. So the 4-year is who graduated then. And then the 6-year graduation high need students, it was the students who could have graduated in 2019. If we gave them 6 years to graduate, they stayed retained. What did our graduation look like for particularly our high need students? Post-secondary entrance was at 78.7 and physical fitness at 54.5. That number also includes our participation rate. And our arts access at 89.1, which was also above the state average. If you take into account all of our percentage of points earned, our accountability index is the yellow cell at the bottom at 66.8, slightly under the state percentage of points earned. So just, I know it's a lot, but what it helps to do is compare kind of our pre-pandemic scores to our post-pandemic scores. And so I highlighted these areas of where we went down and stayed the same, has a side arrow, and up is where we made gains. Clearly, the green arrow is kind of highlighting where we went up. So we know we have work to do in proficiency. Everyone does as a part of the pandemic and the learning loss and associated with that, as well as places that were kind of exacerbated from the pandemic. But the way we get there is by accelerating growth and showing that we've gone up in growth, as well as our schools of distinction is really tracking our growth towards proficiency. That's kind of how we'll get there, including our last links growth for students who are multilingual learners.
Just had a quick question. So in terms of how you measure progress.
Sure.
So if someone's, let's take it, someone's at a 1, but they should be at a 4. If you bring them to a 2 or 3, that's how you measure your progress, right?
Sure, that's
so
how
it's,
we're measuring the growth.
right. So it's not, you're not getting them to where they're supposed to be, but there is some growth within that number.
Right, so with the ELA and math in particular, as well as last links, depending on what your score is, it's identified how many points you need to grow. One for a full year's worth of growth. Beyond that, to close the gap, you have to accelerate that growth, really. So that's what they're tracking, is how far students are getting to their target and what's the average target achieved for everyone. So yeah, so you have to accelerate beyond a year's worth of growth to move a student who's a 1 to proficiency. A lot of places, when you look at a 1, if you hit your year's worth of growth over 3 to 4 years, you can close that gap. So it really depends on where they fall on the scale score of these. But yeah, you have to accelerate the growth to get to proficiency. So as a result, you can see that like a lot of places that did go up were around growth, as well as the percent of students taking college and career readiness courses. As well as our high school graduation accountability index score went up in our 6th year, as well as the arts access. So just a lot of times we're kind of looking like what's our data point pre-pandemic to where we are now. Finally, as a result of the accountability index, a couple more things are tracked with the district, and that includes district and school scores. They track an achievement gap as well as a graduation gap. So that's if our gap is substantially different than the average statewide gap, if we're considered an outlier, then it will be identified on our accountability index. So this is kind of where it's tracked for Danbury Public Schools. You have the ELA performance you compare now, before we had all students versus the bucket of just high need students. This is non-high need students. I'm not free and reduced lunch. I am not classified that I have a disability, and I am not a multilingual learner. That is the students in the first column. High needs rate is right next to it, which we explained before, and that shows you the size of the gap. So ELA performance, there's a 15.1 gap between those two groups. and then you see the state gap next to it, we're not considered an outlier. That's the same for math and science, but we do track those closely, especially at the school level, to make sure that principals and teachers are focused on that as well and how students are performing in their class. We do have an outlier when it comes to our graduation rate gap. So our students who are non-high needs, in the 2019 cohort, that's a 6-year graduation, it was 94 were non-high needs, and our high needs rate was 83.6. The size of our gap was 10.4, the state was 10.2. We're considered an outlier. Okay. So, if we move to our schools of distinction, kind of where identified on the report card of where we were identified with change in higher levels of growth. These are the schools that are highest performing in the district. You can be identified as a school of distinction if you're in the top 10% for your overall accountability score. So our one that was highlighted in yellow at the bottom, schools get those as well. So if you're in the top 10% of the state, or if you're in the top 10% of the state for high growth, either for all students or high need students. So these schools, I put their distinction on there so that you would have an idea of why they received the award. If there's a school that is not tracked with their growth, they can also receive a school of distinction award if their overall accountability index growth, the big score at the bottom, was in the top 10% of the state. So these particular schools were in the top 10% of the state around the Smarter Balance assessment. As a response to this, I have to say we work very closely with the principals to really target what's happening in their schools that are contributing to these scores. There are so many pieces that go into this that are not just about the summative assessments that you see at the end of the year, student work, how we're tracking, cohorting kids at the high school when it leads to graduation, the experience our multilingual learners and their services. So there are so many pieces that really lead to the holistic experience of the student. And so we have a lot of responses that we make a strategic priority in order to kind of target of how to increase and really target improvement at each level. So I don't know, Kara, did you want to speak to these?
Sure. Thanks, Kara. All of the things that you see listed on this slide are really reflective of a lot of the work in the strategic plan that's ongoing over time. So we'll be working several years to continue to get better at assessing and diagnosing areas for targeted academic intervention. One of the things that's common with all of the different content areas up there is the use of more robust ability to assess. We've made a heavy investment in the iReady system, which has been really well received. There's been a tremendous amount of feedback on that, and teachers feel like it really has provided a flashlight in terms of areas for growth for students and their ability to adjust instruction and planning. So we're really happy with that. In addition to that, we've made a lot of space in the course of the week for teachers to have some additional planning time that's very intentional around their professional practice, understanding data, and being able to change course if needed, especially with what we're seeing coming out of the pandemic with the needs of the students and having to really differentiate across a wide variety of levels. So overall, really this diagnostic process that people have engaged in, but also deepening understanding of practice with our standards. And I have to say Kara Wanzer has been absolutely instrumental in being that flashlight, going into schools and getting folks to look at their data across all groups of kids to really understand what their needs are and to kind of put some things on the table for consideration. So we do appreciate that work, and our schools have made, who are our distinguished schools, will be the first to say that they work very closely with Kara and attribute a lot of the success and their understanding to some of the work that they've done around the data. So I do want to say thank you for that.
So and the next piece is really around questions. I know it's a lot to kind of digest at once, so is there anything I can further clarify?
looks like that concludes your portion of the presentation update. I appreciate it. And let me also say, Chairperson Metropeso, that concludes the superintendent report.
Fantastic. So that leaves what? What are we, board chairperson report? Or just everybody sees that the budget, the superintendent's budget is on for information. And in honor of Rachel, I have about 15 things for my board chairperson's report. Actually, I don't. I just wanted to make sure everybody got the invitation to the
Groundbreaking ceremony.
no, groundbreaking ceremony, but there's graduation this
This Friday.
PEP at 6 o'clock.
At the Ellsworth Annex.
Cottage, yeah.
On the 20th, yeah.
Grace Molina sent it out to Kara. I asked Kara to send it out to the whole board, if that's, did everybody get that? Okay. Friday.
Have graduation at 7.
Tomorrow's Thursday, yeah, Friday. That's, at this point, pretty much, that's all I have, but I just wanted to ask Board of Communications and comments. I know some people have been going to some meetings and visiting some schools, if anybody wants to talk a little bit about that.
Michelle and I have been going and visiting schools. We've been doing about 4 a week. It's really enlightening, and I'm truly enjoying it. I think you are too, correct? And if you get the chance to do it, talk to Kara Pompano and just see if you can set that up. The schools are really welcoming and inviting. You get a different view of what's happening, clears up some things, and it's just great. It's fulfilling, I think, to go in there and see what they're doing and get a tour of the building, talk to the principals, and they're really open and honest and just kind of lay it all out on the table for you. And it's just really a great thing to do. I know Ralph does it too, but it's great. So if you get the opportunity, please do it.
I had a wonderful experience, and it just brings everything we're doing here and on that screen in view. You know, like we actually get to discuss it, we see how excited they are and about the actual growth that we're seeing in the iReady program, and just checking out like certain things on sites and facilities or curriculum that, you know, it really just, I've been learning a lot from them and how they have the ability to maneuver, they have the freedom to actually work with the curriculum and these new programs. So it was kind of exciting, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I always recommend it. I don't recommend more than 2 people going at once because that could be a little intimidating. But you know, it's good to let the staff know that, and teachers and everybody know we're there for them too. I mean, yeah, it is all about the kids, like Rachel said earlier. But you know, it's good to let them know that they have someone to reach out to if they need to, and that's a big thing, I think. And also, one of the things, it really, back in 2013, when we first heard about the, you know, the growth and how big the high school was and stuff like that, it's pretty impressive when you go there and it's in between periods and class comes out and you're up against the, it's good to see for yourself actually what kids go through, staff goes through, principals go through. And it made it, for me, and just on a personal note, made it easier to make decisions in here after being out there. You know, because in Beaverbrook, everything's great, always, you know. The Beaverbrook bubble, everything's fantastic. But it's good to go out and see the, you know, the actual, you know, buildings and stuff. But, and last thing for me actually is, just wanted to thank Al, Kate, and the rest of the finance committee, and John, and everybody, on really, I said everybody in the finance committee.
You didn't say my name.
If you're chair or vice chair, you get mentioned.
Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, sorry, bad hurt feelings here.
So I just want to say thank you. You guys have done a great job, and I think that there has been a lot more questions asked and answered this year than there has been in years in the past. And I think that that's good. I think it helps when you can really get those questions answered, so thank you. And that's it for me. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Could,
Okay.
I just have two things I want to bring real quick. Number one, could we schedule a housekeeping, workshop, or whatever you want to call it, with
Sure.
board members, in March? 6, 7, I got 3 dates, you know, we can think about those, March 6, 7, or 13.
Doesn't have to be a
And we can do it with, Cade, someone from the Cade, we can either do it in Zoom, or we can do it in person. I think it's better to do it in person.
So that would have to be in workshop form.
Well, the workshop is do some housekeeping, understand our roles a little bit better, okay? And hopefully by then, we will have a new person that's on that can participate.
Right.
And I think that would be an excellent thing to do.
I agree.
So, I'm asking you, would you like to set it up, or would you like me to make connection with Kate, or
I'll set
move
it
this
up.
forward?
I'll set it up. Any specific day? What do we got? March? Give me a couple.
I just threw them out, March the 6th, 7th, or 13th.
6, 7, or 13, Monday, Tuesday.
So the
or
8th
Monday.
is the board regular meeting. Do you think there's enough time to do it before, or you want to do a separate day?
It's up to you, it doesn't matter.
Well, you brought it up, so.
I'll-
So you want to do 5:30, like to 6:30 on the day before?
Can we do that now?
I don't know about that.
I'm sorry?
Can we do that in an hour?
It all depends, are we gonna have it, by Zoom, or are we gonna come here in person?
Well, if we do it before the meeting, I would suggest in person,
Okay.
because we're gonna do it. You can't do it Zoom and then get over here by that time. So do we think an hour's enough? Well, we do 5:30, you got
We
6:30.
can always, you know, we can take care as much as we can take care of as a board, and then we can invite them back
Yeah.
at another point, if we leave something on that we think very important for the board to really understand.
Yeah.
Because I think we really need to understand the rules and our roles a little bit more, parliamentary procedures, and how we conduct ourselves at the meeting.
So I think an hour or so will be
Yeah.
fine. So we'll do, so let's do 5:30 on the 8th. Now, who would you, March 8th, who would you reach out to from CAVE? They have,
I saw them at the convention, I can't think of.
I'll find out.
5:30, you said?
I don't care if you.
Well, you know, Nick Caruso, he did a couple, I don't know. They have a couple other guys, you can also ask them if he's not available.
Yeah, I'll
They
find
have
out.
some other gentlemen there that can do it.
Yeah, it's a good idea. All right, anything else?
Oh, the last thing I sort of want to ask the superintendent, and I know since COVID hit, do we have the mentors going into the school? And I know through DSABC, because I mentored when I first came on the board for about 14 years in the schools. So are the mentors back in the schools since COVID?
So the doors are back open for mentors to go into the school.
I can't hear you.
Sorry.
I said the doors are open for mentors to be back in schools to work with kids. I don't know if DSABC is still in remote mode or if they're working directly with students. I'm actually on the board, but I didn't think to ask that question.
So
Did you know, Laura?
they are, they're back in the schools, the mentors are doing, in-person visits with the students, and they're growing, but they're just lacking mentors.
Okay.
They have wait lists in every school, almost every school in the district, I believe, is involved. I think Ellsworth they were saying
Right.
added, just joined DSABC, but the problem is they just don't have enough mentors.
Okay.
So that's what we need right now for DSABC mentors.
And thank you for it, because I really didn't know that was,
Yeah.
that was a problem.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Excuse me, Laura. Do you
Yes.
know the requirements for mentoring?
I can send you the information for the lady in charge, and then she can let you know.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So motion to adjourn,
Second.
seconded by Julie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.